The Detroit Tigers making their splash of the offseason, albeit with some weird timing, as on the day of their arbitration hearing with Tarik Skubal, the Tigers go out and hand out one of the biggest contracts to a starting pitcher of the offseason. Framber Valdez goes to Detroit for 3 years and $115 million. On the surface, I love this move for Detroit. They fell off last season, had a commanding lead atop the division, at one point in competition for like the number one seed in the American League with the Blue Jays and the Mariners, and things were looking great. And then it fell off a cliff to the point where they were on the road in the wild card round. And you have to think, if they don't have to go through that step, and if they are potentially hosting Game 5 of the division series, are they the ones who are taking on the Blue Jays in the American League Championship Series and not the Seattle Mariners? Because they came really close, but that fall off was a lot. Bringing in Valdez, there's obviously some clubhouse stuff you need to figure out and need to make sure is okay, because the dude tried to just absolutely crush his catcher with a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, and that's not ideal. But from an actual pitching standpoint, having him this year as your two behind Tarik Skubal, just so that you have another solid, great starting pitcher that can just, when there's a role like that going against you, have that guy who can stop it. That was one thing. Like when the Blue Jays had Halladay, you knew, like the other guys, mileage may vary depending on who it was, but you knew every fifth day you at least had a chance. And so, like, sometimes he would have an off day and losing streaks stretch to 6-7 games before it gets figured out. But you weren't going to have a bunch of those. And so while the Jays never had playoff anything with him, you at least knew that it wasn't going to get out of hand because every fifth day that guy had it. Now you got a couple of those, right? Like Skubal kind of lost it a little bit. There was a few speed wobbles there. They were to the point I wouldn't have given him the Cy Young. Crochet would have been my pick. I'm not like splitting hairs, but they needed that guy to just like, okay, our ace he's feeling it right now. How can we get this back on track? They didn't have that other guy. It was everyone else looking at him like, well, hope 5 days from now he gets it back because this isn't going to go well. So just take some of that pressure off and just have another guy where the buck stops here. We're not going to have 6-7 game losing streaks, and we're not going to lose 3 out of 10. We're not going to win 3 out of 10 because we got two guys who we trust to stop this. So I think it makes sense for a Tigers team that I think should be pushing a little bit more than they have so far this offseason, although apparently they have been on a lot of guys. It's just the big picture of it that's weird. When you are basically like 2x off of what Tarik Skubal, the at worst second best pitcher in baseball, is asking for in arbitration, and you go out and sign one of the most lucrative pitching contracts on the market, that's when things start to look a little bit shady, and look, you wonder what's going on. And it's why there is a lot of frustration around how the Tigers are managing things, and a lot of, like, if the Tigers end up trading Tarik Skubal because they don't think they can sign him, that is another sign that this thing is a little bit broken. But again, it's not because of the Dodgers or the Blue Jays or the Mets. It's because this team that brings in a lot of revenue out at Comerica Park should be spending to keep the best pitcher in baseball on their team. If you cannot spend to keep the high-level players on your team, you shouldn't own a baseball team. There's a barrier for entry for these things. There's only 30 of them right now. That's one of them, is that when you get high-level players, I feel like you should be able to pay them. If you can't, then you shouldn't be owning a team. And spare me small market, every team's worth over $1 billion. So that's where I am at. If this is a safety blanket for if they do have to move on from Skubal, I kind of hate it. I think we have seen, like, Valdez has been the best pitcher on teams that have gone to World Series, but I don't know if he is that anymore. And those also had like really good starting pitching, like one after the other after the other. It just, he happened to be the best one of that group. I don't think you can do with this team with Valdez what they've done with Skubal. So if Skubal has to move on, okay, but now all that money has to go somewhere else. And I don't know if the Tigers are going to do that. So just the timing of it and everything was really weird. Also, we had just talked about if the Blue Jays were in on him or not. I'm happy it wasn't Toronto. It never felt like a fit. It really felt like someone was trying to boost their guy's value a little bit more in terms of a trade or something along those lines. So yeah, I was kind of all the way out on Valdez, as I think you guys are probably picking up on here today. So it's an okay signing for the Tigers. I think it makes sense for this year, but it makes sense for this year if they keep Skubal and they don't make that big move. Otherwise, I think it's a mistake for Detroit. But where are you guys at? Tigers fans, want to hear from you. Where are you guys at on this signing? Because I would be really worried that this means that our boy could be on his way out.